today. We ordered this from SMS Auto Fabrics. We did a lot of research and we were kind of in between of how we wanted to do the interior, if we wanted it to be exactly like it was or with a few modifications but similar. So we found this. So we're gonna open it up today. Then we also got some vinyl from a local place around here. It's called Unlimited Upholstery.
Rick.
Right, yeah, great people. Rick is awesome. We did vinyl instead of the fabric that they showed us in the sample. So we're gonna see how it looks together, but we are gonna open this up. Sparkles in it and stuff. Let's see if we can tell. So this fabric is the original. This is the pattern on the inside of the seats. See that sparkle like that?
All right, so now that we talked about fabric, we're going to talk into the actual construction of the door panels. So the main thing that you'll need is the old door panel backing board, and sew foam. For our Packard, we were actually missing one of the door panels, so I found this one off of eBay. It's a little beat up, but at least it gives you the construction and the shape. So you have a good place to start, and then you can fit actually on the door. So once you get that, then you move into laying out your fabric, making measurements, gluing the sew foam, and then the tools that you need.
Okay, so jumping into the tools. If you guys watched our previous video where I covered some of your basic beginner tools, now we're going to start covering a little bit about what you're going to need for your actual constructing and measuring and sewing your door panel. So first thing, just some little binder clips, nothing major. I mean, these are literally just spool binder clips.
Great hack.
Yeah, great hack is right. Cheap, easy. You can buy other clips if you want, but just some binder clips, and that's going to help when you're holding down your fabric when we have to glue the fabric onto the board. This was a lifesaver. As Dave knows, that once we have done some practice stuff, this is going to be a major help. It's just two-sided tape, and then for extra strength, you add on this ribbon, canvas ribbon, and then you sew it. And then our staple gun.
Harbor Freight Special, 20% off coupon.
And then our industrial grade adhesive, trim adhesive. Dave did buy one that was. This was a no-go. We found this online and we thought it was going to be good. It did not stick at all.
Yeah, this one was recommended, by the way, and then we found on sale rate videos. The sale rate videos actually recommended the super trim adhesive. So this stuff, killer. This stuff, it's all right, but definitely go with the green can.
Watch us as we
cry
and scream and create a door panel. Nice.
That bad boy. Alright guys, so now that all your measurements are done, I'm going to show you how to make a panel board. Where did we get this from, Jen? We got it from
perfectfit.com.
perfectfit.com. So there's a bunch of different backing boards. We went with this because it's close to the OEM, the original that's in the car. As bad as these panels are, you can see all the holes. So that's what I use for marking out all my holes on the panel that hold the clips onto the door. And then I use the shape, even though it's a little warped, it's very close. So I'll leave a little extra room. You can see here, I haven't done the corner, but I will take some of the trim pieces that we have, and I'll use some of the trim pieces to actually finish and give us the right and correct radius of each door panel. So once we get it close, we fine tune it on the car. There's a million ways to do it, but this is kind of the way that works best for us. All right guys, so we got our backing board, and in order to adhere the fabric to the backing board, the door panel, what we use to attach it is a thing called sew foam. So we went with a thinner style sew foam, and you go just around the perimeter, give yourself a little bit of room to fold it back around and staple it to the door panel. So just follow the contour of the door panel, and we're going to do that. Now that you got your sew foam cut out and we have our fabric pieces cut out, so all we got to do is use that spray glue, spray it down, and then we'll lay out our pieces, and then we adhere them, get all the air bubbles out, and then we're ready to cut out some holes on the sew foam and attach it to our door panel.
Our fabric is cut and glued, and now we're going to start doing these awesome little seams here that you see in the door panels, the decorative stitches. So you get your acrylic ruler that I had mentioned in that first video, which is super helpful. And it looks like there's about 1 inch between each seam and then 2 inches from the top. So then you take that, go over here, do the same thing. So we measured that the door handle should be about 8 inches from the top. And then of course we have a little extra fabric, about 1 inch to 1/2 inch extra to fold and staple to the board. So we're going to measure that, and we're going to start about right here at 8.5 inches. Do 2 inches down, and then 1 for each one of the things. And we got about 6 stitches that we're going to have to do all together. So we'll start marking that up, and then we'll get stitching. Okay, so before we start sewing our final piece of fabric, you always want to test it first. So I have a whole bin here of test fabric that we cut and that we didn't use, so I always save it. And what I'm going to do is test it to make sure that my seam isn't too tight or too loose, and adjust from there. I know I mentioned this before we get started in the first video that our little Rex 607 machine here has it's a portable one, so it's got a smaller arm here, so it's hard to fit a lot of fabric in there. So what I did here is just folded the fabric and then clipped it so that it stays out of the way while we feed it through the machine, and it feeds nicely, because if it doesn't feed nicely, which Davey's gonna help me hold the one side here, it will jam up and then you'll get some really bad stitches, which is what we want to avoid. Okay, so we just got done sewing this. As you can see, it didn't go as planned. Like, it started off really straight, little curve here. Then it got really messed up here. Most of this will be covered by our chrome and other pieces. This fabric was just too big to work with, so me and Dave thought of a better idea, and we cut them into separate pieces. And these lines turned out amazingly straight. So I was able to get a good grip on it. Same with this bottom brown piece for the other passenger's door. I mean, these lines are super straight. Some of the better ones that I've done. So that was kind of our tip. So if you guys are working and you're with a big piece of fabric and you're able to split it into 2, that would probably give you way better lines, way straighter lines than struggling and having them come out like this. So the next step is deconstructing our door panel, and this is awesome if you have your original door panels, or at least a manufactured version of it, because you can tear it apart and then you can get these pieces and deconstruct it yourself, as you can see here. So this is just to the door, or to the door handle. So this is, you can see they must have padded it with some kind of padding and it's still on there. So we'll scrub all that, wash it off, but this is great because then this is here. To make it easier, we just bought a roll of some cheap, kind of ugly vinyl fabric from the store, and I was able to trace it and kind of make a template. So you can have this template, same with this. This template also includes your 1/2 inch seam allowance that you want to have on there as well. And then you have this that you can trace on your new fabric and sew it together, and then hopefully see that it fits. So that will be our next steps. So I've already started a little bit. So I took that door handle fabric and I already cut it out on some of my vinyl piece here. So this is the armrest part of it, where you would rest your arm. And then I'm gonna cut out some of our sparkly fabric to match this piece here, which is this, you see all the stains, this is our older fabric. This is the armrest, that's the old door panel over there that we still have to take apart. But you can see the metal part under there. This was one that we already took apart. So we cleaned it off. So we just took our sew foam. As you can see here, this is the sew foam. And just cut it and glued it. And I cut it to the shape of the armrest, glued both sides so that it looks plush. You see that? Pliable. And I glued it all down and I trimmed it and clipped it. And now I'm just waiting for it to dry. So that is another step that you're gonna have to do as well when you're doing your armrest. So once you're done sewing those pieces together, this is kind of what your outcome is gonna be. And you can see our reinforced seam out there. We reinforced with the canvas ribbon. So you kind of see that by itself, it can actually sit down and still be curved. That's a great sign. That means our curve looks good and our seams are good and reinforced. So we're gonna get ready to glue this piece onto the armrest.
All right, guys, so a couple of our trim pieces to our door panel, they were actually broke. So what I did, instead of using JB Weld or anything like that, it's chrome. I didn't want to weld it because then you ruin the chrome on the front side. So what I did do is I got fiberglass and then the resin. So I fiberglassed the back side, cleaned up, and then stacked some nice pieces of fiberglass on there, and that should be strong enough to hold down on. So.
Okay guys, day 430 of working on the door panels, but we discovered something new. So we got all these chrome pieces in the mail for the door panels, and we noticed that they're just really kind of scuffed up and dirty, and even when we tried to polish it, it was still just kind of dull looking. And even on some of these other pieces, you can see even a little bit of rust and stuff. So we wanted to clean that up instead of paying the money to get it re-chromed and re-dipped. And we read up online that back in the day there was actually many layers of chrome on old cars. So if you used some 4O,
yeah,
really fine steel wool, and then also cleaning it up with some Purple Power industrial cleaner, and then going back in there with a pad on your DeWalt and some metal polish. You'll see us actually doing it, but just like a cooking show, we can show you what the after is supposed to look like. So we did it also on a wheel. And this was the original ugly, disgusting, dirty hubcap, and this is what it does afterward. So you can just see such a difference. So now we'll go through those steps.
Looks
And
fantastic.
voila! Totally different.
Voila, totally different. I'm trying to climb up.
Just wanted to show you an example of the door clip. This little piece here gets clipped on the backer board, the door panel board. And then this part goes into the hole that's in the metal on the door. And it's supposed to clip in, and it has a little pull, kind of like a paper clip. And this just helps it stay in. Once it gets past the hole, you can see it gets bigger to keep it in there. So again, we found these actually on Napa Auto Parts, and we got a good box of these for pretty cheap. So, and that's how you actually attach the door panel to the door. So David installed the door panels, and look how great they turned out. So we installed this separate piece that we made. We polished up all of our chrome. The only thing we got to do is add some of the knobs that we're missing still. We have to find them. And this is our window crank. You can see it's cranking up. This is the front seat, and I'll show you the back seat. Again, still missing some knobs. We're gonna have to find those on eBay or something. But David attached them. You can kind of see here with these door clips. Only thing you gotta watch out for is that if you are installing your carpets, you can see this is folded this way. These come with some metal things that say Packard, and they're supposed to drill into the bottom here. We have them, they're a little beat up, but we have to install them. But that will help keep the rug from hitting the flap here because it pulls apart and the door clips unhinge, which is super annoying, and it's happened to us many times.
Grab the, no.
What? Don't get that on camera.
Oh, I was rolling through that whole thing.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.